All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Do Hard Things podcast. I'm your host, JT, certified high performance coach, transformational mindset coach. Truly honored to have fellow coach Krystalore Crews with us today. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, I guess we'll just kick it off with just tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Krystal Crews with the Cruise Coach. I'm a life and fitness accelerator. I don't like to really call myself a coach because it's a transformational experience.
Hmm.
And what I do, my mission is to help empower women put themselves first for 34 minutes a day and put their health and fitness and their wellness first so they can pour into everyone else. So, whether that be in coaching, in my workouts, in my coaching programs, in my community, it really is an experience of self-awareness and a self journey for improving your health and wellness. So that's what I do, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we connected a friend of mine who is he's a self-proclaimed non-runner, but he runs every chance he gets. Craig Horseman ran a Ragnar with you, and he's like, "You got to connect with Krystal. You guys have a lot of like-mindedness and synergy." And we connected. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Military, performance coaching, helping people out, just live a better life, and there's a lot of synergy there. And we connected. I'm like, "Okay, we got to do a podcast together." So here we are. Now, you mentioned 34 minutes. That was a very obscure number. What is significant
Mhm.
about 34 minutes?
So many times and as an entrepreneur, I've been in the military for 20 years. I'm about to retire. I'm moving all over the place. My husband's in the Army. I'm in the Air Force. Our schedules are crazy. We can't always get to the gym. But one of the things that's top of mind that we have recognized that when we are servant leaders, especially of our life, our businesses, our families, our military service, sometimes our health and wellness takes a back seat. And what I found over the years is that many times people want a quick fix to their health and fitness journey, and they want to get fit fast, and they want to have the fad diets and all that. But really what it comes down to is intentions, the daily habits and the intentions. So what I did was I fine-tuned it down to 34 minutes, 2 minutes in the morning of intentions, gratitude, goal setting, and really just setting up your day and time blocking. 30 minutes of movement at least dedicated to yourself, whatever that is, whether it be my workouts or another type of workout. And then 2 minutes in the evening of reflection and kind of just a recalibration, like in celebrating your wins. What went right? What got in the way? And what can we do differently tomorrow? So that 34 minutes, we have 1,440 minutes in a day, and 34 minutes is only 2% of that day. So when we break it down, I think it's just much more manageable, and it doesn't seem so overwhelming for people if we can just
I
kind of dedicate that time. So
I
that's where
love
that came
that.
from.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the breakdown of that, and because it's like such an obscure number, I'm like, where's okay, what's going on here? That the 2 minutes doesn't take long to have a little bit of gratitude, or I do like just a little release meditation too. You can get a lot done in 2 minutes if you just focus and reflect on yourself. And I like how you kind of teach about bookending the day. We talk a lot about bookending the day, starting off on the good foot, ending on a good note with some reflection and some awareness and taking time for yourself.
Yes.
No, I love it. What is the hardest thing? What is the hardest thing you've ever had to do?
Whew. The hardest thing.
I'm
There's
teeing
been
up a
many
big
hard
question
things.
here. Yeah.
This is a big question. And it's a huge part of my story, I believe. Many times, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, being vulnerable and telling your story about the hardest things that you've been through, I think is the mess and the message that we need to bring forward. So I've been doing a lot of soul searching about the hardest thing that I've ever been through. And that was in the beginning of my military career. In 2005, I was in my undergrad of my I was in my senior year of my undergrad. I was an NFL cheerleader at the top and pivotal point, just starting my military career, climbing the corporate ladder, going to college, doing all of these things. And I was spread very thin. Um, and I didn't take my health and fitness seriously back then because I was working out for 4 hours a day. I was just literally spread so thin. But I was successful in my eyes at that time. And I was doing a runway show for Spirit Halloween Store. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
it.
Spirit. Yep.
In the middle of my NFL season, I cheered for the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills! And this was well before we got really good. The so we would have all these events, and one day I woke up after this runway show, and my right baby toe was about this big, bigger than the biggest grape that you can ever see. And I'm
Hmm.
not 5 foot yet. I'm a very small human. I'm very petite, and so I was in a lot of pain. And then so I went to my doctor, and they basically said, don't wear those shoes. You got an ingrown toenail, ingrown nail. Just go, suck it up, basically go away. And within weeks, my whole body shut down. I had pain in both of my knees, both of my shoulders. I ended up having lockjaw for 3 months. They almost did TMJ surgery and put metal plates in my jaw.
Wow.
And they poked and prodded at me, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I was 22 years old at the time. And in the NFL, like I was an athlete, I was healthy, so I thought. Um, and I ended up in a wheelchair for 6 months. And I took endless amounts of steroids and medication and steroid and injections in my thighs and in my abdomen every other day to be able to walk. I literally shopped for my first apartment in a wheelchair. Um, so that was a very interesting experience. So I have a soft heart and compassion for anybody has any disability at all, whether it be physical or mental or invisible. So anyways, I grew sideways. I'm not 5 foot yet, so I gained a lot of weight. I was also in a not so healthy relationship at the time where I was physically abused and emotionally abused. And so at the time where I thought I was at my best, I ended up at my worst.
Mm.
And for many of us that have been through hard things, what the brain and the body does under stress and trauma and being knocked down, it's not so pretty. And so I literally had to rebuild my core. I didn't have a voice, and in fact, I was choked. And so, and I say that not for pity or anything for you to feel bad. It's just there were so many times throughout my life that I saw so many times where I didn't feel like I had a voice, and I didn't feel like I set boundaries. I didn't feel like I could stand up for myself and say how I really feel or what I really want. And so I rebuilt myself. I had a voice at my doctor. I got out of that toxic relationship. I crawled my way to the kitchen to learn about anti inflammatory diets. Back then in 2005, there wasn't the internet. I mean, we had dial up, but I read Arthritis for Dummies. I was diagnosed with a very rare form of rheumatoid arthritis, which I still live with every single day. So I do hard things every single day because I know what was taken from me just like that. And I know what my body and my brain did during that time. And I rebuilt myself, got out of the toxic relationship. I got help, I got coached, and I had a community of people that helped me. They actually tried to kick me out of the military because of the medication that I was on. So I worked with my doctor and a team of people to get me off of all that medication. And so I finally, for the first time that I can remember, really gave myself a voice and advocated for myself, my health, my relationships, what I wanted for the rest of my life. At age 22, I had a pill box that was bigger than my head. And so I was taking more medication to offset the holes that were burning in my core. And I say that because I had to rebuild my core and rebuild myself from really rock bottom at that point. And it took me an entire year. I got off of all the medication. I got out of that toxic relationship, and I advocated for myself and my health and my career. And I crawled my way out, and I've run 25 marathons, a 50-mile race, qualified for Boston, New York, Chicago. I'm a marathon coach. I'm a high performance coach as well. And I just love to help people shorten that time frame. So I know I'm probably going over your question, but that is probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to endure. And that is why I keep going. And that is why I don't slow down. And no, I won't slow down. No, I won't stop, because I know how it feels for that to be taken from me.
I love the mindset of I'm not going to let this shit slow me down, right? I'm gonna power through. And the one thing that I've learned, the common denominator amongst all of us that live on this planet is that there's some form. We all have struggles and things to overcome, and there are lessons learned. And I think, we can let these things define us, or we can overcome them. And I just love
Hmm.
talking to people that become resilient and they overcome these significant obstacles. And it just sounds like you just went through a just you're, yeah, and I just know, being an athlete, anytime that you're injured, you're on the DL list. Like, it just sucks the life out of you when you can't move. And here you were, an NFL cheerleader, which obviously requires a lot of energy, and and you're now rapidly transitioning to being wheelchair bound. Describe, I guess, like, your mindset when that happened, and how did you pull out of that? How did you develop the resiliency to navigate through that?
So one of the biggest questions that I ask when I go through difficult things similar to this, and what unfortunately I've been had the opportunity to endure several other things, and we don't have to go through that, but I've developed this recipe for this momentum to get out of the fetal position, or get out of whatever you're feeling right now when life feels like it's shutting you down. The main question I ask is, what can I do right now with what I've got?
Hmm.
And that has been the most powerful question, because many times, especially as entrepreneurs and as leaders, we tend to go into that self-doubt, and the spiral happens. And then we wonder, what else is missing, and what else do I need? And I need all of these other things, when really many times what's in your heart and in your mind and your experience, like, we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we do have and what we are capable of. And the brain is so incredibly powerful and capable of visualizing a positive way forward, and then putting people in places and systems and habits in place to get you out of whatever situation you're in. So I say this in fitness, I say this in, with injuries, overcoming illnesses. The brain can bully the body, and the biggest thing is, like, really working on that mindset and figuring out how you can just roll up your sleeves and just literally, I crawled when I didn't think I could walk. And then I just started walking. I knew I couldn't run yet, but I just started with one step at a time, one light post at a time, and then one light at a time, and then one block at a time, and then 1 mile at a time, and then one 5K, and then, right? And the end of the story. But I think many times we just get in this spiral where there's no hope and the clouds just sink in. So the recipe that I've built is really recognizing your values. What about you is unique? Like, I had to figure myself out again, because I was someone else's girlfriend. I was an NFL cheerleader. So when you talk about an identity shift, I had to start over. And I'm like, okay, who am I? Am I someone with a disability for the rest of my life? Am I someone who is going to take medication for the rest of my life? Or am I going to choose to be something else? And if I'm going to choose that, what do I need? Do I need skills? Do I need people? And what I found is that learning and educating about oneself and the values, and then educating on the habits that shape who we want to become. So really putting in the work, right? And executing on what you got right now. Like, what can you do?
Mhm.
One step. Maybe you're having financial struggles. You can go outside. There's so many things that you can do at home. There's so many resources that can be right at your fingertips that sometimes we lose sight of. So getting educated, finding the skills, and then finding the community
Mm.
of people that are in your corner, that are helping fuel you forward, that are going to lift you up, that are going to show you the way and cheer you on. And then, speaking of cheering, the last thing is celebration. So really celebrating each step of that journey, and that you're stronger than you were yesterday. So
Mm.
I could talk for hours on this, but I've developed this framework and I've had to use it over and over again. And so that's how I have helped myself out of every difficult situation. I just kind of layer, okay, what can I do? Who do I need? What do I need to learn? How is this a lesson? When times get tough, where's the lesson? And that gets me moving in a forward positive momentum. And then before I knew it, I'm out of the fetal position and loving life again. Right. So I
Yeah,
hope that answers.
what is the lesson? That's one thing that I've learned. We kind of mentioned that earlier. Like everyone has a struggle or something to overcome. And when I was able to flip the script, like, okay, this is another life lesson and another obstacle that's here to challenge me. And with that, I know that there's growth. So yes, this situation sucks. My life isn't, I don't have control over some of these things. And that's where we get frustrated. We're trying to control things that we have no control of. But what can we control? And what opportunities are there? And how is this going to shape us into a better person? Because there will be something positive out of this if you look for those things. And if you have
Mm-hmm.
that mindset when you have these obstacles that are thrown in your path, I don't know, it's just the alternative is, oh, woe is me, I can't do anything. Like a very fixed mindset, this has happened to me and this is going to define me, and you just throw in the towel. But to me, that's not a way to live. That's not a way to live. And when I realized that, these setbacks and challenges that I have, yes, they suck. And I think it's important. What really flipped the script for me and has helped me more than anything else is when I get down in my head, because I still do. I had a moment this morning. I had a moment this morning where I had to call up my girlfriend Lacey, and I just had a venting moment. There's a couple things in my life, in my military transition, that are so frustrating to me, that's beyond my control. And I just needed a moment to just vent, and I just had it out. I just let it go. And I'm like, okay. And she reminded me, like, okay, now that you got that shit out of your system, come on, what are we gonna do now? Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
focus. It's like, okay, you're right. I'm gonna let it go. I feel better. And now, okay, let's pull out the pen and paper and let's execute. Let's make an execution list and let's get on it. And yeah, I'm still a little frustrated about a couple things, but I can't control it. And I can wring my hands. I can get on social media and all caps and vent out. None of that stuff is serving me. But having the community and tribe of people around you to help give you perspective, a coach, community, a solid partner, all of those things have been very transformative for me in shifting my mindset, because it's all about pivoting. We do all this work so we can pivot faster when life throws obstacles in your way. And that's like I said, that's one thing I've learned, is that we all have things to overcome. And I just love the mindset that you executed, going through this. Now, let
Yeah.
me let me ask you this: if someone were listening to this, we talked a lot about your health, but you were also in a very challenging and abusive relationship. And I grew up in a home, with watching my father and how he was physically and emotionally abusive to myself and my mother. But it takes a lot of courage to end that. And so, what advice would you give someone that might be listening to this, that might be in a similar situation? How do you break free? How do you have the courage to break free and end that relationship? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you, it was not easy. And so, one of the biggest things that helped me was I wrote letters
Mm.
that never made it. Right. So, I write, and this is where, like, the power of journaling and the psychology of getting your thoughts out of your brain, out of your mouth, and out of your fingertips down onto the paper is so therapeutic, whether or not that piece of paper makes it to the other end. Whether you put the stamp on it or not, maybe you send that email or not, putting it out of your head, I think, helps you process. And for me, I process by writing and by talking. So that helped me. And then, so I wrote a lot of letters that never made it. Um, and that's okay. Like, I have come to grips with knowing that I don't need the closure and the control of closure anymore. At first, I needed it. I needed it so bad. I needed that last word. But I was able to do that through writing. And I'm
Mhm.
still writing that story, right? So I don't think that ever does go away, especially when we experience trauma, whether it be with a big T or a little t. Like, there's a lot of things we're all walking around away with trauma. So whether it's a relationship or anything else that you're going through, writing it down and processing the thoughts, because in your mind, it spirals. It's just, you hear it over and over and over again. And actually the brain wants to keep it safe and keeps, and so we don't forget it, right? It's like, oh yeah, let's keep it top of mind. And yeah, we like that, negativity and positivity, right? So in order to get it out and process it, writing it down helps. So that would be my first tip. Second one, I actually got help. I asked for help and not a friend, because they don't always tell you what you need to hear. They tell you sometimes what is what you want to hear and what feels good. Your family members and your friends are trying to protect you, and so really I would, unfortunately, I got it, I saw a therapist, and when this person thought I was at dinner, I was actually getting help. So there were times that I just had to do what I needed to do to process these thoughts and emotions and feel like I'm not alone anymore, because I felt so alone. And that's the biggest problem, is that you're never alone, whether you're going through a difficult relationship, illness, cancer, divorce, um, all of these things. You're not the first and only person to go through this. And so that would be my gift to you, is like, you know, go into community, ask for help, because there's so many other people that will be there to lift you up, and you will not feel alone. And that sends you into a negative spiral. So this will be my biggest two tips, is to just know what's best for your best life. And we only get one shot.
Mm.
And so you get to design it the way that you desire. And, if you're stuck right now, and if you're not feeling your best self and people bring out the worst in you, maybe you're in a difficult situation, visualizing your next best self and your next best steps, and taking action sooner than later will help move you forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. The journaling. I know there's a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of conversation behind it. I think that a lot of people, though, they don't really know how to really start. Someone's wanting to get into journaling. Like, what? How would you go about telling someone to journal? If they're feeling kind of down, and just get a notepad and just start writing your thoughts. Like, how do you recommend someone do that?
Yeah, so I think, it doesn't have to be fancy, first of all. Yes, I published my own planner. So I did develop a structure, but when I first started journaling, like, I really would just write down what I've been through. Like, so when I first started my coaching business, I was like, okay, what qualifies me? What messages do I want to have, so that I can help other people, right? And that's when I really started writing this story and connecting the dots, right? But letters help. If you're writing a letter to not only yourself but other people, will help that journaling process and help the flow. And just like any new thing, you're going to resist it a little bit at first, and it's going to be a little awkward. Many of my clients that start working out for the first time, or start running their first mile, or start journaling, or start celebrating themselves for the first time, they're like, well, this is kind of weird, this is woo woo, like, is
Yeah.
this really going to work? And so sometimes we just self-sabotage and not do anything. So really, just doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but just start writing without judgment.
Mm.
Like, what's on your mind? Even if you were to capture for the day, like, okay, what thoughts come into mind, and what's positive, what's negative, and maybe just take inventory of the conversation that you're having with yourself, because we are the best thing since sliced bread, and we have the only and longest conversation and relationship is the one that we have with ourselves. So when we can recognize where those thoughts are coming from and the patterns that we have, and jotting them down on a notepad, that's where we have data to start to recognize, all right, where do we need to pivot? Where do we need to shift? How can we move forward, um, to fulfill our goals, so that we have a better relationship with ourselves and other people? So I know that's kind of a long answer, but I mean, really just starting to recognize, like, your habits, what you want to accomplish for the day, just starting a little checklist and checking things off. I designed a free habit tracker So if you want that resource, I have a 30-day habit tracker. You can fill in things that you want to accomplish and check them off, and the brain says, oh yeah, we're doing it. Like, so that can start a journaling process. um, Gratitude is a really great way to start too, saying, hey, I'm grateful for this today,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling confident today. Writing down and articulating the words to the emotions that you're feeling and putting it down, that's in its simplest form how so much opportunity can come from that, because you're going to be processing and then the flow starts. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I
Another
think a
thing
lot
that
of people. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, just one more thing I had, which when I first started this was kind of like, this is this is awkward, this is weird. When I wasn't writing letters and I knew that I needed to level up in my day to day, because I only have so much time in the day, I wasn't feeling creative, and maybe the sheet was blank. I started meditating. So I found a 5 minute like creative meditation, a guided meditation. So you can find them on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere. I don't do guided meditations yet, but that's going to be something I'm going to be working on. But really finding something that is going to help get those creative juices flowing and clear your mind so that you can be in a present moment. That's been powerful for me, just like meditating for a couple minutes before I start writing.
Yeah, there are a lot of different journals out there. You can get some that have like prompts and things like that. But there's something powerful when you just take pen to paper and just jot down notes. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just whatever's on your mind. And in that process, you start to like download your. It's like the RAM on your computer, right? It's that processor. It's like you're clearing that out, because if it's full, just like your computer, it starts running really clunky. It's not. You got to defrag it a little bit, right? So getting that stuff
Mm-hmm.
off of your mind really helps. And so journaling is a way to do that. Meditation is a way to do that. And I've got ADHD, so doing these things can be tremendously difficult. But when I do focus and do it, I know I feel a hell of a lot better. And I use my social media as a form of journaling too.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I found in doing that, it's I get great conversations from people. Someone will reach out like, you know what, I was thinking kind of the same thing. And not saying that that's for everyone, but that's a form. A lot of my posts. If I look at what I posted 10 years ago, I'm embarrassed. When I started using that, I had a coach tell me to start using my social media and just be more open about that. And I started using that as a form of journaling. Really helped me, and it helped me connect with other people that are going through similar things, to improve my conversations with people. So
Yeah.
these little things, they're easy to do, but they're also easy not to do, but they're very powerful if you incorporate them as part of your daily routine.
Yes. And I think the biggest thing that I love what you said, Jay, about the feeling that you feel when you accomplish these things and when you
Mm.
do download. I think when we start to develop habits or try to break habits, we want to focus on the feeling and the emotion, and chasing the emotion, not necessarily the actual thing that you're doing. And
Mhm.
so this is what I love to do is like running the first 3 miles of a marathon is not that fun. I actually second guess why I signed up for this dang thing. And it's like my legs don't want to move. I'm second guessing all of my preparation, but the feeling of that emotion, of that accomplishment at the end, knowing that I'm going to have a sense of fulfillment and challenge and accomplishment, that we do hard things, right?
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
that feeling that we want to be in, that has to be greater than the thing that we're doing itself, right? And that I think makes it so much easier when we can really connect to the emotion and the feeling and recognize, hey, I know this feels good. Let's take action now.
Yeah.
Like Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go for the good. Let's hunt the good stuff, right? So I
I
hope
had
that
that moment. I
helps.
was running Ragnar, Michigan over the weekend, and it was super hot. It was super hot, and the evening run is like my second leg of the day. So I think I had a 3 miler early in the mornings, so it was just starting to get kind of warm. It was only 3 miles, not a big deal. But that evening, I was running like this a 5 miler, and I don't know, it had to run up a big hill. It was so hot. And like halfway through this thing, I'm like, man, am I ever going to get through this? No, actually, it was the 8 mile. I had the 8 mile loop in the evening. So it was a little bit more painful. And I was like halfway in it. I'm just like, man, why am I doing this? Why did I drive all the way to Michigan, just questioning my existence? But then you cross over the line, you hand off, everyone's cheering, and then you're around camp and you're hanging out with everyone. And then, the next morning you finish up the event and then you're hanging out with everyone. It's those moments. It's that sense of teamwork and camaraderie and accomplishment that make the hard thing that you're going through in the moment, it seems like it's insufferable in the moment, but that's all overshadowed by the fulfillment that you get from actually accomplishing it. And it could have been another unremarkable weekend at home where I just mowed my yard and watched Netflix, but because a lot of people are like, why would you drive, 12 hours to go camp and in the summer and go run trails? It sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's ridiculously fun. And if you haven't done it, you need to go try it, because it's the hardship that you endure, but it's really the camaraderie and the fulfillment you get from doing the hard thing that makes it worthwhile. And anything that's worth a damn in life is tied with something with discomfort. And I just think discomfort is your friend. It makes you grateful, and there's just so many benefits from it. So that's, as you said that's what I was thinking about. Anything, you're running a marathon, right? Yeah. Every time that I've run a race, at some point I'm like, why the F did I do this? I'm paying for this. Why? But then it's like, it's just your mind processing what you're doing. And then you have that sense of fulfillment and just the memory. And it's like, okay, I'm ready to sign up for the next one, right? It happens every single time.
Yep.
It's awesome. So 25 marathons and a Boston qualifier in there. How did you get into running?
Well, it started with that one light post when I couldn't walk.
And so you didn't start, you weren't much of a runner before that?
So I ran track in high school and in college. So I was actually probably the shortest hurdler, and I haven't Googled this, so don't quote me, but probably the shortest hurdler on the planet. I'm not 4'11 3/4. I was a sprinter and a hurdler in high school.
Yeah, it's unusual. It's unusual to have someone of that stature jumping hurdles.
But I was a gymnast as well, and a cheerleader and a dancer. So I'm very flexible. So I was able to glide. So you don't jump the hurdles, you glide over them.
Yep.
But what I found is that I fell a lot. And we know when we fall, I actually almost fell yesterday, running in this neighborhood here. The life flashes before your eyes, right? As an athlete, you know that feeling, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't like that feeling. I want the feeling of control. So when I could, I just started really just 1 mile at a time. And then I was like, okay, let's set a goal. 5K. I ran my first 5K. And then half marathon, 10K, half marathon, full marathon. Then I'm like, I was in a documentary for, it was the Becoming Ultra project. So I ran a 50-mile race with a guided coach. And so I'm done though with that distance. One and done.
I like to run, but you get those longer distances. They get pretty doggone tough.
Yes. It's a big time investment in the training too. And I don't do anything halfway. So, definitely, I think that's really just chasing that accomplishment and really recognizing how therapeutic it was for me, for my mental health and my physical health. So processing all of the emotions, processing, planning. I think that's where I've been able to learn so much about myself and my body and what it does under stress, pressure, trauma, all the things, nutrition, how I am so in tune and aware through this process of running, where people are like, oh, how do you do that? I'm like, it's just, I'm falling in love with the process of falling in love with myself. And it seems vain, but I'm just so aware all the time. And that's why I love to help other people go through this process.
That's why I love running, because I have some friends. I talk about this with Craig all the time, because Craig's always like, I'm not a runner. I'm like, well, because he doesn't, when he's actually running, it's painful. So we're having the same thoughts. I'm like, well, most of the time that I'm running during it, I don't absolutely love it. It's hard, but I know that the discipline of it, and like you said, being in tune with your body and the awareness and the hardship and the feeling that you get, the runner's high when it's over with, all of those things are good. But I think most runners are that way. I mean, most runners are like, man, here we go again. But I do have some running friends that absolutely love it the whole time. I'm just not one of those people. But it's a discipline, and I I feel that when you're doing these hard things in a controlled environment, that's why I think exercising the body and the mind every day is so good for you, because when hardship comes into your life, it's like, okay, I know that I can do hard things because they do them on a regular basis. Because if you're running a
Mhm.
training for a marathon or training for a 50 miler, you have a point of reference. Like, that is not an easy thing. And you go through that whole cycle of, questioning yourself, and a lot of introspection, and just a lot of mindset work going on while you're, doing those things. But when challenge comes into your life, it gives you that reference point that, you know what, I'm used to doing difficult things. I take on difficulty on a daily basis. I can get through this moment, because it just bleeds over into everything that you do. And that's why I'm so passionate about, doing endurance sports, and pushing yourself outside your comfort zone like that. And there's something special about running that I just, as a cyclist and other, running is just a little bit different for me. I don't know. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people say the same thing. There's something going on with the mind when you're running, and you get that runner's high that's legit, that I don't quite get as much if I'm lifting weights or cycling, although those activities are fun and good. But running, there's something special about it.
Yeah, you're alone in your thoughts. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are afraid to be alone, alone in their thoughts, and it's totally natural. And so, if you or anyone can be alone in your thoughts for that period of time, you start to learn and break through some of these systems that we have that are fragmented in our brain, that shape our beliefs, which shape our actions, which shape our relationships and our future, right? And so like it's almost like you're unlocking pieces, like it's like a secret, like I'm getting geeky about it, but it's like there's like this secret compartment in there that it's like, okay, I'm gonna go in and unlock this piece of our brain, and like there's so much opportunity. And I mean, I have voice notes, endless amounts of notes on my phone of ideas and frameworks and ways I can change the world and help people. And like, you just unlock pieces of you that aren't filtered by the media, social media. Like, it's you. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I love about it is like I get to be me. I get to be all of me, all of my thoughts, all of my dreams and goals and aspirations, and then also the not so good stuff, right? I reflect on those things and I try to plan and pivot, but the power of the pivot, right,
Yeah.
comes from unlocking and spending that time. So whether it be meditation or fitness, or some way where you can unlock parts of you, I think that's been powerful for me. And not everyone has, hours to train for a marathon or a long-term race, and that's why I shortened it to the 30-minute segment, of doing those hard things and still maximizing the stress on the brain and the body in short periods of time, so
Mhm.
that you're telling yourself this story like, I can do hard things. Holy crap, this is hard. I'm panicking, but let's not panic. Like, and you go through this, like, this conversation with yourself, and it's almost like, hey, don't stop. No, you got to keep going. Like, all these like little voices in your head. No, you're not crazy. It's totally natural. Everyone has them. And the more I study psychology, the more I'm like, holy crap, I am not, you know, I'm normal. Like, these thoughts are normal. And so to be able to understand them at a deeper level, where your breaking point is. And, we like, as runners, that there's the runner's wall where everything shuts down and you're like, nope, I'm done. Literally everything stops. And so really breaking beyond that, and that's my brand is Cruise Beyond Limits. You actually break that barrier, that point where your brain wants to bully your body and stop. And we just go just a little bit further. And that's where the magic lies, because then the brain rewrites that story that we can reach a little bit farther outside and not panic and really focus, deeply on that conversation and that balance and that fine line. So we're kind of like pushing those barriers a little bit. Um, so it's a mental, it's more mental than it is physical, right? And
Yeah.
so when you talk about, some people that say that they're not runners, if you put one foot in front of the other and you do just a little bit further than yesterday, you are a runner.
Yeah,
Like, I
Craig, are you listening to this, Craig? You're a runner,
yes,
Craig.
Craig, you are a runner. And I saw it firsthand. And and that's true, the power of the community too. I mean, I
Yeah.
met you through Craig, through the
Yeah.
last Ragnar that we ran together. Um, and, just really the power of connection and the opportunity, and that was my first Ragnar, and I don't camp. And Craig made it such an amazing, and all the other teammates made it such an amazing um, experience for me. They pulled me along, and I don't run trails. The last trail I ran was my 50-mile race, and I said I'd never do it again because I fall. I'm very I'm accident prone, so I want to be in control of the power of the road. So trails for me were
You got to
our
glide
cheerleader.
over the roots. You got to just glide over those
Yes.
rocks.
Oh my gosh. Knock on wood, like I got out of there without any injuries. So that was good. But the power, he really made it a great experience for me where I had so many reservations. I was scared running through the night. Like there were a lot of things, setting up a tent, where's the hair dryer? Just
Yeah, yeah.
kidding.
It's uncomfortable.
Like
It's
that's
uncomfortable.
a
You're
problem.
like
Like
it's
you
like
can't shower.
you're on this adventure and you're just focused on the task at hand, whether you're getting ready for your run or you're just recovering and you're just trying to camp and get some sleep. Like there's just so much going on and you're just so engrossed in the moment. Like you don't really care
Mhm.
about what else is going on. And that's why I absolutely love these adventures like that. They're great, great for that.
Yeah.
And
We'll
kind of going
definitely
back
have
to
to all do one together someday.
we do. That would be totally awesome. We need to do that for sure. We had the Do Hard Things banners and stuff out there. And it was so awesome because people were like taking selfies with the flag and like, I love doing hard things. It was like as they were coming out of the trail, we had basically the banner, right there. And it was
Yeah.
just super cool. Just the environment of getting people in the shared experience, whether it's running or cycling or you're doing jujitsu in the gym, because I take the kids up to Taekwondo and that sense of community, CrossFit, your boot camp that you do, you've got this culture of community of people that are going through some challenge together. There's just something incredibly powerful to that. And I would just encourage everyone to find something, keep trying something where you're working the mind and body in a community environment of some kind, because there's so much power to that. And every
Mhm.
time that I work out, like I've got a notebook, like you said, you got voice notes. I'll have to stop what I'm doing and pull out my
Yep.
Evernote and take notes. I remember we didn't know what we were going to call the Do Hard Things. Like we're going to call it the tribe, the Do Hard Things team. Like all this stuff sounded cheesy. And for the longest time, and then one day it came to us like, shoot, we got the flag. It's the Do Hard Things Nation. And Lacey and I were
Love
both
it.
like high five and like, we did it. We figured that out on a run, And so we always have like these big, I always have like big epiphanies and moments that happen when I'm on a run because it's meditative. You're breaking away from the day to day, kind of focus at the task at hand. If I'm not listening to a podcast, then I'm usually thinking about something and there's breakthrough that happens in that, which is very powerful. So,
Yep. If you know,
so
you know.
you
If
know.
you don't know, let's figure it out. You
We've
have an
got two running
awesome
coaches
community.
right here. If you need a coach, you want to
That's
get
right.
started, reach out to me or Krystal. All right. So you primarily coach women. What are some of the biggest challenges that you see that women are having right now?
Hmm. So I like to coach, or well, the biggest, let me strike that. Um, when most of the women that come to me are really in a period of transition.
Mm,
So whether they are their kids, they're a mom and they have served everyone and everything and being a mom, and the kids are going to school and they're like, I kind of forgot about my health and fitness, or
mhm.
I fell off. I used to be an athlete. I always wanted to do that. So those are the types of women that come to me because I've been through a series of transitions, and so really getting them started with the healthy habits again, um, really recognizing the power of their community and the people that are in their household and in their circle. Um, so really those are the women that come to me. And then also entrepreneurs. So those stay-at-home moms that want to build a business, the people that can't get to the gym all the time. I offer a very flexible plan that allows me to meet them where they're at. So the biggest problem is like I can't get to the gym. I don't have time. I have kids. I have a business. I'm pouring into everyone and everything. So my schedule is crazy. I got to answer all these emails. I pay for a gym membership, but I can't get there, and that's annoying. Or I tried stuff on YouTube and I just try it for a week and then I fall off. So those are the types of women that I help. Um, and then we just bring them together in community. We set some goals. We establish some healthy habits. And then the workouts are right in the privacy of their own home. So we kind of eliminate a lot of the excuses or the limits that are set for them.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Because that's a challenge people have is they're so incredibly busy. They don't have time to go to the gym, but in-home workouts are fantastic. And that sense
Mm-hmm.
of online community, you can still get that sense of community by plugging in online. I've ran a lot of like online fitness groups and stuff like that for people that are short on time, and it works remarkably well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. And there's a lot of people that are in various transition points in their life, and sometimes you just need that extra guidance or a shift in perspective and all those things. I feel like a lot of people that I work with, whether they're veterans or entrepreneurs, are all in a form of transition. Kids have
Mm-hmm.
left the nest, or maybe they're starting a new career. They're leaving the military, entering the civilian workforce, or changing from one job into the next. And those transition points can be incredibly difficult sometimes. So,
Yes, and I feel like it clutters our brains sometimes. And it's like there's so much overwhelm that happens, and it's right here in the front of our brain. And we know that we need to eat healthy. We know we need to drink the water. We know we need to have good sleep. We know we need to move our body. But somehow all the chatter and the noise happens right here, and it doesn't always happen. So, like the
yeah,
health and fitness and like all the movement and all the good stuff ends up in the back burner, or what I like to call the back seat or the trunk. So
yeah,
we need to bring that baggage forward, sort it out. Let's see what works and just start that momentum and start that movement, because that's going to reduce the overwhelm. If you wait till you're healthy enough, wait till you start doing it's you're just kicking the can, and then more overwhelm and more things are going to stack up. And if we don't let it all out,
yeah. It's
we
just
know what
gaining
happens.
some clarity because everyone knows what they need to do. Everyone knows what they need to do.
Yeah.
It's no secret of how to get healthy. It's just a matter of getting focused because there's a
Hmm.
lot of choices and there's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of like limiting beliefs and just a lot, like you said, a lot of clutter when you organize everything and get your thoughts organized. And sometimes you just need someone to talk to, like a coach or a community or someone to kind of help keep you like focused. That's what it's all about, staying on the path. Because a lot of times
Yeah.
we're walking on this journey, when we just get lost, we just kind of like veer off the path. Like, oh no, come here, get back on the path. This is what,
Mhm.
and it happens to all of us. And so I think that's powerful to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed part of your morning routine is that you call your mama every day.
I do. Hmm.
What is the greatest lesson that she's taught you?
Let's see. The greatest lesson. There's many. There's so many. Um, I think it's love everyone. I think we grew up, she was always, in the health and wellness space. She was always working out. She's always doing, but she still has this thing about her, which I've adopted and adapted, is really just seeing everyone who they are, where they're at, and just loving everyone. Whether it be someone at the grocery store, someone on the side of the road, a homeless person on the side of the street, like seeing them, looking them in the eyes, and bringing humanity and just bringing joy to their day. That has been, I think, the biggest lesson, because we get so busy with our day to day. And I think sometimes we, especially with social media and these technology, all of our devices, we lose sight of the connection that we have in humanity and people. And there's so much opportunity if you just look up and say hi. And if I didn't talk to Craig, for instance, I just went to bed and didn't stay up and talk with everyone at the campsite, I never would have learned about you, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't be here right now. And I think many times we shut out, just opportunities by not connecting and not looking up and just being open to opportunities that you may not recognize right away. And I think that's been the biggest power, because I used to make fun of her. She'll say this, and she's going to be listening, and she's going to be she's one of my biggest cheerleaders. She is my biggest cheerleader, her and my husband. And she's going to laugh because she's like, you used to make fun of me for saying hi to everyone. And, you were always so happy as a kid. I was like, that's annoying, Mom, you're embarrassing. Right. But now as an adult, I'm like, I do that and I love it. And some people don't say hi back. And I'm like, why? There's a lot of hurt people out there that just need some love. They need a smile and they need some compliments. They need some joy in their life. And you might be the one that changes that. And I want to be the one that changes the world for people and puts a smile on their face and makes them believe that anything is possible. And so that's been the biggest lesson that I've learned. One of them, there's many, we could talk for hours, but she's a beautiful woman, and just sending her so much love. And I'm just so grateful.
I love it. If you want kindness there, you gotta sprinkle it there. There's so many people that just are disconnected. They're physically present, but they're not mentally engaged and present in the moment. These damn cell phones are just, we're engaged in this digital world that's not always, it's not reality. That's the form of the matrix. And like, happiness can only be found in the present moment, in those moments around you. And those are the meaningful moments. Like getting disconnected to go to a campsite to go run over a weekend. It's just so, I don't know. It's just so fulfilling. There's so much energy there. It's like, over the weekend, there's the big Roe versus Wade controversy. It's like, man, I picked a great weekend to like not have have really spotty cell phone reception because I'm connected in this moment, not dealing with all of the angst and animosity from both sides, just going at it all the time. And people are just really down and out right now. Just the mood of the country is just like, ugh. But being intentional, going through and trying to make someone smile, like, you just, I don't know. I think it's so incredibly important. We need more of that. We need to be reminded that, we make a greater impact when we make ourselves better and just help those around us better because, the person that you meet in the grocery store, you don't know that interaction could be the best thing that's happened to her today. If you smile and just ask her how her day is going. Um, and so I think it's important that we remind ourselves of that more often. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm in a hurry. I'm just trying to get in, get the milk, get out. And I try to slow myself down and make eye contact and talk to people sometimes because I know that I like it when people do that to me and genuinely ask me
Yeah,
how I'm doing and make that connection. It feels good. We need more of that. So
agreed. And everyone's going through something, right? So I
yeah,
think when we can develop some compassion and empathy, and just caring and pausing in the moment, like, so if someone cuts you off, like really just pausing and be like, what's going on in their life, or if someone is angry at you or they're not saying hello, like consider before you jump to conclusions and fill the space, consider like what could be going on in their head and what are
yeah,
they dealing with, because we're all walking around with our baggage and our trauma and with the experiences that we had, you know as children all the way up into adults, and how, what happened this morning, the conversations you had with your family or your children earlier today or last night. We're all carrying all of those thoughts around with us at all times. And I think the more we can understand that, that we're not the only person in the world that's going through something,
yeah.
I think we can bring a lot more connection and humanity, and some humility too,
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
compassion and
Because if you
empathy.
just if you just think that you don't have like you're the only one going, because a lot of people feel like they're suffering in silence, that they're the only one going
Hmm.
through, because they're comparing themselves to everyone that's on social media, and everyone's always putting their best foot forward. Well,
Yeah.
the reality of it is that's not reality. Everyone is going through something. Everyone is going through something that you may know nothing about. Everyone has battles, and we got to remind ourselves, because if you do the comparison thing, you're going to feel very unfulfilled. You're going to feel left empty. You're going to be miserable because you're trying to compare yourself to something that's just not reality. And that when you connect with people and you have a community of people, like-minded people going through shared experiences.
Yes.
So well, I always like to end with some high performance habits. So two questions I have for you. What is your morning routine look like?
Okay, so I wake up, I take some pre-workout, I start with a workout, no matter what, because if I wait till, and I say that it's going to happen later. It doesn't. We all know that. We kick the can and then life happens. So I start with a workout. Then I have my coffee with my journal. I do my journaling, my intentions. I set out my schedule. I call my mom, and then I get into work. So I don't typically start my meetings. My earliest meeting is 9:30 typically. So I have my whole morning to myself first. So everything else, so I can pour into everything else.
Love it. I love it. I think that's so important. That morning routine, having that routine of, like you said, doing the journaling, getting your workout in, getting your mind and body primed and optimized, getting that coffee, journaling, doing all the things so you can go into the day on offense versus waking up and just being reactive throughout the day. Because it's what a lot of people did. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
the most challenging years of my life are when I just woke up and it was just like everyone else just needed me right from the get-go. It just felt like I could never catch that break. But when you start off by taking care of yourself, getting up before everyone else and doing those things, and it's like the day is completely different.
Yes.
No, I love it. I love it. And every one of my guests, for those listening, I always bring on high performing people. Everyone has a morning routine that comes on here, and it's awesome. I love hearing it. What book has made the greatest impact on you, or maybe one that you've gifted the most?
Well, I do book clubs. So I'm the two that come to, I have several, but the latest one that we read was Straight Up by Trent Shelton, an incredible author, motivational speaker, and coach. And he goes through the different life lessons. So whether it be relationship, entrepreneurship, um, your challenges, really he really did a great job of dissecting and allowing the space for you to grow through certain things that you've been through in your life, and that we tend to have chains on us, and we talk about that baggage and the trauma that we carry around. And I think he did a really great job at dissecting it and giving tactical tools. There's actually a workbook at the end of each chapter with some prompts. So that's been the most impactful, I think, in a holistic approach to health and wellness. Really, it's called Straight Up. It's very tactical. It's straight up in your face, like it pierces your heart. There's going to be some tears. There's laughter. There's work and there's transformation. And I think that's been the most powerful for not only for me. He's made a huge impact on my life, but for my clients as well.
That's awesome. I like the tactical books where it's like more than just theory. Like, okay, here's the theory. Here's, then here's some things to like think about. I love books that are like that. Straight Up by Shelton.
Hmm.
I love his podcast.
Yes, it's awesome. Got
Awesome.
me through some really tough times.
Well, what meaningful pursuit or what is your current hard thing you're tackling right now?
Let's see. There's a lot of them, but I'm scaling my business. I added retreats, in-person retreats to my business as of this year. So I'm nearing retirement in August. So I'm actually really going to be doing more in-person retreats next year in 2023. So I have two more this year, and then really collaborating and finding sponsorships for these retreats. And some of them are going to be for couples, some of them for women. And then the one that's really near and dear to my heart are female veterans and military spouse. So that community, my next big goal for 2023 is to be able to host larger events and go on tour, and be able to provide more of these community type in-person live events. So I'm traveling all over, going on tour. So that's my next big thing for 2023. And I have another book in store, but I can't tell you about that one yet.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to hear about that. And what else do we need to know about you? I guess how can people get in contact with you? And is there anything else that we left off?
Really just the biggest thing that I would say is that many times with Crews Beyond Limits is my brand is similar to Do Hard Things, the Do Hard Things Nation. We have very similar community and mindset. And I think if you can find a tribe, a nation, a community of people that will help you, make you feel like you're not alone, so that you can cruise beyond whatever limits you have, the ones that you set for yourself, the ones that other people set for you. Like really knowing that if you have this inner feeling, this gut feeling that you want more for your life, like find a group, find a tribe that would be the first step. And just start saying it out loud, jot it down on paper. If you want the planner, great. I'm sure that'll be available in the show notes. I figured out a system that works for me that implements the gratitude, the relationships, the goal setting, the nutrition, the reflection, the time blocking. Everything is all in one spot. So I would say that that would be a great tool to start with. Um, Find someone and something to help hold yourself accountable and others to hold you accountable. And that will fuel you forward, and you'll start to see the momentum, and then you'll start to feel the results and then see them happening. So that's where this passion and this excitement comes from, is from just doing hard things one day at a time, one step at a time. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time, and that's okay. Just recognizing where you're at and just keep going no matter what, because we're not going back there, we're
Nope.
going forward. So that would be my last message for you. I can be found on all socials. Krystalore Crews, krystalorecrews.com, KrystalOreCrews.com. I can be available on all the socials. So reach out. I would love to have a conversation with you and cheer you on as your personal and professional cheerleader and coach. I'm here to support you, and I want to see us all level up and grow in this journey and in this space together. So that's
Absolutely.
all I
I'll link
have.
all your contact information in the show notes. And yeah, appreciate you coming on today, sharing all that, just your story, all the wisdom, and look forward to future collaboration opportunities. A lot of synergy with like what you're doing and what I'm doing. So I'm sure there's no doubt that you'll see Krystal again. So
Yes. So
all
great
right,
to be here. Thank you so much.
for all of you out there, keep doing hard things. We'll see you guys in the next episode.